Welcome, weary travelers, to another episode of What Doesn't Kill Us here on the Fight or Flight Network. Today we're going to be doing not really a top 10 list, a top 7 list for 2017, the 7 deadly films. So what we're going to do is we're going to all go through the 7 deadly sins and not really compare a film, but our top favorite films as defined by a 7 deadly sins, I guess is the best way to describe this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to list off the sins in order, and then we're going to each give our film for each sin. Oh, because I'm such a pro at starting episodes, why don't we say who we are? My name's Monica, and with me I have...
Crystal!
Sorry.
And that's no.
Nothing but
And that's
professionals.
Sorry.
That's alright. Okay.
Don't forget to mention we're doing it. We're also not doing top 10 the way others do. We're doing the best 7 films that we saw in 2017 whenever the film is from.
Yes, I am so amazing at describing things. So it's
I just think that's everybody
did movies that came out this year. These aren't movies necessarily that came out.
And there's not that many good horror movies.
Yeah, these are just movies that we watched this year that were our favorites that coincide with one of the 7 deadly sins.
Except for Crystal, because she goes to the movie, she sees everything as soon as it comes out.
Crystal's might all be 2017 films.
There's one in there that isn't.
I'm not gonna lie, just about all my movies can fall under like lust and greed. So,
it's hard.
Yeah.
You could justify any of them for any of them.
Yeah.
It's
probably.
That Wrath was really hard for me. That took a while.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna like mine then.
And I still feel like Wrath is a stretch for me.
So are we doing Wrath?
No, sorry. I guess we can start off with Wrath if you guys want.
All right.
Who wants to go first with their Wrath film?
I guess I could go very quickly. My Wrath film for this year was the Netflix production, 1922.
Oh, that's so good.
Directed by Zach Hilditch, and it stars Thomas Jane, and it is a Stephen King adaptation, and it's basically about a farmer in the 20s who hates his wife, and he has a son, and his wife really just wants to move to the city, and he doesn't want to do that. He wants to stay on the farm, but she's sick of it. She's just like, I want to design dresses in the city, and the farmland belongs to me because it was my father's. So we're going to sell it whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, if you're not coming with me, we're getting a divorce. So he gets an idea in his head to do away with her. And he convinces his son because his son is sweet on the girl next door. And, Mama's just trying to take you away. Or actually, sorry, let me do my Thomas Jane impression. Mama's just trying to take you away. He talks out of the side of his mouth. I don't know what he's doing, but I love it. And let's just say I don't want to give any more away because there's a lot more. It's spooky. It's a really interesting exploration in I guess the effects of what wrath could potentially cause to destroy your life because of this decision, and everyone you love. So that is my
No, that's a
Wrath
great
film.
one. As soon as you said it, I was like, oh man, I missed it.
And it's not a series, it's a single film.
No, it's
right?
just a movie. It's really good
Okay.
though.
You said Netflix?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Netflix.
And they also did Gerald's Game.
Yeah, I was
right?
gonna say Netflix did 2 Stephen Kings this year, Gerald's Game and that one. Which, if you're gonna watch one, I would say watch 1922.
Oh,
But
really?
Gerald's Game is really good too. I really love. I love both
We may
of
or may
them.
not talk about that one later.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
gonna say, sorry. I
Okay,
figured
sorry. All right, Noel, you want to do your
Oh,
Wrath film?
so I'm old. I can't believe how old I am. I need glasses. I watched something called Death Ship from 1980. The IMDb story. A mysterious ghostly freighter rams and sinks a modern-day cruise ship whose survivors climb aboard the freighter and discover that it is a World War II Nazi torture vessel. I remember seeing I remember seeing ads for this when I was a kid, and I just put it on randomly, and it really blew me away. Basically, the protagonist of this film is the ship, and nobody's on the ship, and except until the people who survive the cruise ship that get the survivors of the crash. But they painted the entire thing black on the outside and red on the inside. Now I don't know if it's a real ship. I mean, they had to have filmed this on a real ship because there's no way this is a set. You could just tell that this is a World War II, some kind of. And the ship is presented as having a personality of its own. It's kind of like, Monica, what we've talked about it's much scarier when the evil thing is an object because it has no psychology. You can't reason with it. You can't empathize with it. And the music and the way that they use the camera to show the world from the perspective of this evil ship, it is fucking terrifying, even before anything happens. And then the people get on the ship, and one guy is obviously Jewish, and I swear to God, the ship immediately, all the levers and all the chains and everything is moving by itself, and it picks up the Jewish guy with like some kind of crane or something, and it picks him up and throws him and just dumps him off the side, like we're not even the Jew thing, not doing it. No, he's not even going to make it through any of the film. Wow. It is so. It's funny and horrifying at the same time. And then each cabin is like an installation. It's like there's no characters besides the ship is its own thing. So they make all this commentary about film because in one of the rooms where it was the cafeteria or the lounge room, they have a old style projector, and they play the projector, and it's like a comedy musical thing from the 40s from the United States. And then later in the film, the projector is running without any film in it, and it's Nazi it's like Nazi
propaganda.
Yeah, essentially. And there's no film, so it's like the movie's also talking about film and how media represented different things going on during World War II. Now there is a scene where they go into a room and there's all these bodies hanging, and they seem like young bodies, and they're not, and they haven't been decomposed at all, and you're waiting for them to come alive, but they don't. And so the film really doesn't want to do the Nazi zombies are chasing you. It just avoids that completely, even when the opportunity for that, is very obvious. It doesn't take the easy route. And yeah, it is just so unsettling. And it's sort of like Duel with the truck and the guy, Spielberg's TV movie, and where so much of what you see in that movie is from the perspective of this truck, and we never see the person driving the truck. So it's got that vibe to it, but it's a huge ship on the ocean, and it's evil. It's like evil, and then it disappears at the end through a cloud. Like, this thing is always going to be there. It's always been there. It's always going to be there. It's going to continue. And it's such a great metaphor for hate and wrath and this kind of psychotic, unmotivated hate. I mean, the ship has no good reason to ram the liner to get some people on board and kill them one by one. It's just malignance. And because it's an object, and this huge object, and what was the last time you saw a ship painted black and then it's red on the inside as if it's sort of alive? Amazing.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I think, Monica, you'll really dig it.
I was just looking up images. Is this an American film?
Yeah.
I wonder if it was filmed on the Queen Mary, because a lot of the set things look really familiar to me.
I don't know, though, because this thing is on the water moving. And I don't know, the Queen Mary.
Well, it's just the inside that looks
Oh, the
familiar.
interior.
The
Oh,
outside doesn't.
maybe so, yeah. The interiors are appropriately decrepit, and like they'll open a locker and there'll be a picture of a pinup, or like there's this sense of like they just left, you know, the Nazis just there, and it's living this evil. It's sort of like Moby Dick, you know, except it's a ship instead of a whale, which is actually again more scary, because at least you could say the whale is just malignant because it's trying to survive, but this is just like, oh my God, it's very much an exercise in technique in terms of trying to make this object live. So I think, Crystal, that would be interesting for you too, is just like how he manages. There's a lot of tricky, interesting stuff that's done with the camera. So it's definitely worth a watch for as well, because it works. You wouldn't think it would work. So
that sounds really interesting.
Yeah. I just added it to my list of movies to watch, because that's definitely up my alley.
I thought it would be cheap, but boy, it wasn't cheesy at all. It wasn't, particularly nowadays. Oof. Anyway.
So, Monica, what is yours?
My movie is one of those random gems that I found on Netflix. It's a movie called Coherence, and it is my best synopsis for it would be remember that Plus One movie? That, but really good. It's like a whole bunch of people get together and they're having a dinner party and the power goes out and they're talking about this meteor or this comet that's going over Earth, and the power goes out, and so they're like, oh, let me go check at the neighbors because it looks down at the end of the street, it looks like somebody's got power, so let me go check with them and see what's going on. So they go to the neighbor's house and it's an identical copy of their house but with power. And then they go look inside the house, and inside the house is all of them right before the power goes out. But it keeps going from there. Like, it's not just a time thing. It's a battle royale of yourself with multiples. And, you know, you get separated from the party, and then you join the party up again. But is it your party, or is it one of the people you were just trying to kill? And I don't know, it's crazy, and it's got, just a second ago I knew his name, and now I'm gonna totally be one of those people that's like Xander from Buffy.
Yeah, he's in it.
Yeah, what's his name? Coherence.
Oh yeah, what's his name? I used to know his name.
What is his name?
I know it, and it's gonna make me so angry. Oh snap, where is he? Nicholas Brendan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's really good in it.
Oh, you've seen it?
Yeah, he's really good in it.
Oh, I love that movie. Yeah,
he's movies anymore, and he's really good.
Yeah, he is good. Well, he did that Criminal Minds show for a long time. But yeah, he's in it, and it's pretty fantastic. And I called it Wrath because there's a couple characters that are, well, everybody else is like, we got to be the one to survive. There are a few that are like, we got to be the ones that just, let's just kill things. I've always wanted to strangle myself. So, yeah.
That's not what I'd do if I was faced with myself.
I know. One person was like, this is awesome. We could actually, like, learn about ourselves and get to know. And everybody's like, no, let's just shut her up. But I really liked it. I thought it was really cool. Again, I like go down rabbit holes of watching a whole bunch of random movies. So when I find a gem, I'm just like, that was nice. Coherence is my wrath.
Awesome.
Okay, so the next sin, let's go with gluttony.
All right, my pick for gluttony this year was a little film called It.
Oh.
I feel like...
The new one or the old one?
Well, the new one.
Okay. I don't know, you could have rewatched the old one.
That's this year's most popular horror film, I would say. Mm-hmm. Directed by was it Andy Muschietti. He was the guy who did what did he do? Something really awesome. What was it? You guys know? No?
Hold on.
He did something that
Not Wikipedia.
a small...
Yeah, IMDb.
he did a smaller film
Yeah.
that I really enjoyed, and I forgot
Mama?
what it was. Mama.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
so
Oh yeah, Mama
yes,
was really good.
so he did Mama, and he did this latest version of It. It's just generally very well made. I love the new Pennywise.
Oh my
Uh,
God, yes.
he's great. His makeup's great. All the makeup in the movie is great. It's a
I
very
love
dark
I love
film.
how he's always like shaking in his skin and twitching in his skin. Like he
He just
doesn't
looks
belong
like
in
that.
there. Oh, I love it.
But he already has a lazy eye.
I
Like
know.
it just looks great. I think it achieved what it wanted to do. Um, People are very excited for the next one. I mean, I do have my problems with it, but I think it's overall like I'm so happy that a movie like this is, getting attention from people.
Yeah.
And I would say it's gluttony because he's just eating all
He's
those
just
kids
eating
and all
all
that
them
fear.
kids. Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
really
so
like that movie. We've talked about this a bit before. I like how it makes you afraid of daytime because a lot of horror
Yeah,
movies are just about the night. And it is whenever daytime in public places, like you're not safe anywhere.
exactly. And I love how dark the theme of basically just every adult in the film is just
Hmm.
deplorable, like just disgusting. And in some way, even if it's a loving gesture, they are damaging. They're all damaging their kids somehow.
Yeah,
Uh,
especially Beverly. But
well,
they
I
all
don't
are.
know. Is it especially Beverly or is it? I don't know. That Munchausen lady's pretty messed up.
Yeah, and Richie actually is too a little bit if you think about it. His kids are just his parents always just throw him money just to get him to shut up.
Well, I think they all have problems,
Mm-hmm.
but I think she's the reason why she's special is because hers are so bad in a very specific way that Pennywise cannot scare her.
Yeah. Yeah. She's cool.
Best character in the film. But yeah, that's my gluttony.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, the obvious choice would be Raw, but I feel like we should do Raw separately. I feel like I don't want to talk about it now. Um, Raw is from 2016. It's French. When a young vegetarian undergoes a carnivorous hazing ritual at a veterinarian school, an unbidden taste for meat begins to grow in her. And I saw this at the beginning of 2017, so it counts as a 2017. I don't know. My other option was Mother. I mean, Mother has every sin in it. If you really look at
Yeah,
it, like
it does.
every biblical thing,
Yeah.
every. So I don't know. I don't know. I hadn't really prepared anything to say about Raw because it's just so big.
We'll
I
do a
feel like
separate episode
we
about
should do
it.
a separate episode
Mhm.
about it, but it's an obvious film about gluttony to a great extent. Yeah, I hadn't formulated any thoughts, but do we want to talk? Should I just go ahead and talk about Mother since we're all dying to, or should we wait? Do you want to wait?
No,
I
we
could
could
do
talk about it, but talk about it in the way that it relates to gluttony for you, I would say.
Yeah, I had that in my head and now I've lost it. You know what? Let's wait on Mother then for another. And I guess I didn't say anything about Raw except to say that it's to me it was a portrait of being a young woman in the Western world at this time. Young woman like just graduated high school young. It's a film about sisters. So it's a film about female sexuality developing. And I have to say that these are subjects that I see movies with young women, and I'm trying to piece together what it's like to be a young woman right now, and horror films are probably not the best way to do that. But I feel like Raw is really more about the young woman's sense of an identity that's dawning, whether it's good or bad, more than it is about the horror, I think.
I agree.
The sister thing is very disturbing, and that's another subject I don't know anything about, sister to sister. And at one point in the movie, there was only 3 of us in the theater, and me and my friend decided to sit behind the only other person that was in the theater. Why? And my friend is really sensitive about making noise during films.
Uh-huh.
But there was a point, like 2/3 of the way through, where I was saying to our young protagonist about her sister, I was like, kill her. You have to just kill her. Just fucking kill that bitch. Like, I hated the sister character so much, and I was really embarrassed. But that film made me physically react. It's that kind of a film. I'm glad I saw it on the big screen, because it is really immersive. Really immersive. So
yeah, it is.
I find it really funny because I wasn't as big of a fan as Raw as you guys were, but the redeeming factor to me for that film was the sister. I didn't love her, but she was a jealous older sister, and they did it perfectly. Everything she did was it was both jealousy, and it was, not to give things away, but she sees herself and the younger sister, and she hates that. And so she's like punishing her younger sister, but at the same time she's like, I love you, let me teach you how to deal with this, but I hate you, you're disgusting. Mom and dad love you more than they love me. They baby you because you're the brainchild. Like, it's this so complicated and fantastic actual sibling relationship that was the one thing about this movie that I was like, this is beautiful. This person knows sisters or knows like siblings.
Well, yes, I mean, because I saw the screening with Julia DeCardinal. She talked about specifically sisters.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is. This is her relationship with her sister.
Yeah, it's so
they have
complicated.
No boundaries physically, and that's why they can touch each other.
Mm-hmm.
They can hurt each other. It's all just.
It's very love-hate, and I loved it because she knows what she's talking about. It was good.
I sensed when I was watching it that this is accurate. Like, I could tell this is right.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't like her, but I thought they did that really well.
It felt like this has to be true. And then it begs the question that tortures me. Could a man have made this movie? Now, I already knew it was a woman, because it's how many women make successful, really groundbreaking horror movies, or at least get known about it. And so I would love to know, it's so hard to unknow what you know. You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine going into the movie now and not knowing that this beautiful French up-and-coming hot director had made it. But boy, I don't know. If it's maybe you could say Paul Thomas Anderson understands sisters because he has so many, but not really. He would never do anything like this anyway, but I don't know. It just felt so right and so accurate. So what you guys are saying is completely, confirms my suspicion that this was, they really got it. They nailed it.
And we should talk about it later, but all of the intimate and the disgusting things about it are very close to home, as far as, not in an extreme context like that, but it's our bodies. We have trouble because there's a lot of things that women are expected to do to their own bodies in order to make them presentable.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a very special scene in the film, which we won't talk about, but
yeah.
The mirror?
I just remembered what you were talking about. The wax.
The lipstick? Wax? Oh, wax. Shoot, it's been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's about grooming.
Yep.
I'll watch it again before we talk about it again, but...
It's body horror in the context of something that women do all the time.
Yeah, something that happens to probably,
right. Yeah, that's pretty shocking.
30% of women.
Yeah. It had femaleness all, like in your face. It didn't pull any punches.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really special. Not necessarily enjoyable, Monica. Like, I understand it wasn't a lot of fun, but boy, it felt real. It felt raw. It felt authentic.
Yeah.
So that's obviously Gluttony.
Awesome. Mons?
Okay. My gluttony film. And this is one that I say could be gluttony. It could be envy. It could be pride. Actually, this is a pretty good hubris film because it's their opinion of humans that gets them in trouble. But I'm going to say gluttony because it's really the gluttony that gets them in trouble, is a Polish film from 2015 called The Lure. And it is...
Oh, I've heard all about it. I still haven't seen it.
I love it. It is stripper cannibal mermaids. Yeah, it's amazing. It sounds horrible, and it...
With musical numbers, right?
Yeah, it's a... Yes, stripper cannibal mermaid musical.
Can't wait.
It is... I was expecting just like a absolutely horrible B film, and it does have like some cheesy moments, but I was so in love with this movie, especially because it's very much a fairy tale, and it follows the logic of fairy tales, and all the way to the end, it's bittersweet fairy tale, and I was crying at the end. I love this movie so much. But yeah, cannibal, not really cannibal, I wouldn't call them cannibals because they're not human, but they eat people, and it gets them in trouble. But
and they're sisters?
Yes, they are sisters. Their names are Gold and Silver. Well, in Polish,
it's
Gold
another
and Silver.
female director.
Yeah, Agnieszka.
Yeah.
Wow, and the only reason why I know how to pronounce that name is because I used to work with a girl named that. Because it's Agnieszka, Agnieszka.
Right. That's the Polish film.
Yeah.
And it's already on Criterion. I mean, it was like an instant
it's
classic.
so good. Yeah. Oh, I would highly recommend this movie. I was floored. I just randomly heard about it, and I thought it was going to be a horrible B movie, but I'm just like, yeah, stripper, vampire, mermaid, musical, absolutely, I'm in. But
I can't wait.
Yeah, I loved it. I would highly recommend it. And it's gluttony, it's lust, it's hubris, it's wrath, it's envy, it's everything. It's all the sins.
All the good movies, have them all.
Mm-hmm. All right, so for the next sin, let's go to greed.
All right. My greed is, I'd probably say, the most prestigious horror film of the entire year. Get Out.
Oh!
Directed by Jordan Peele.
I love that movie so much.
It is incredible.
It is.
It is just like one of the most effective films to both cover not just a slasher film, but also have a deep political message in it about race. It is the most, and I would say the first half of the film is only about mild microaggressions about race.
Yeah.
And it is the most uncomfortable part of the entire film. And all it is just little things that people say to this man.
Oh, like all your workers or all your employees are black.
What?
All the employees are black, and he just keeps watching them like, oh yeah, you guys are so forward thinking, but all your employees are black.
Well, right, and then they say stuff like, I would have voted for Obama.
I know, like, oh my God.
Okay, thank you. Bradley Whitford is so good.
Or I know a pediatrician who's also African American, like stuff like that.
You know, and
do you know him?
And talks about, you know, like stereotypes, and it's all supposedly like positive stereotypes, like big dicks and stuff like that. And it's like, I'm sure, like, and seeing it through the lens of someone who has to go through this every day.
Yeah, and has not even so go through incredible. It, just has to like grin and bear it, like, you know, whatever.
They don't know what they're talking about. Even the most polite of people, they just have no sensitivity to what this person has to go through. And it's just so awkward and cringeworthy. And we won't get into the second half, but it is super interesting. I'm going to say it's about greed because white people
It's
greedily
yeah. Mm-hmm.
really would
They
probably
want
rather be black.
Yeah, it's good. It's greed. You want what you can't have.
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Have you seen it, Noel?
I cannot. I'm so embarrassed to say I haven't yet. I'm waiting. I like sometimes when something's really hot, I wait a while. I don't know why, but I do. So, and probably because it's a little pricey right now on Amazon or something.
Yeah.
It's
It's good.
I mean, I've heard so much about it that there's no question that I will see it. It's just I've been a little behind the curve on it.
I really love like the stuff Kay and Peele have been doing after Kay and Peele.
Yeah.
Like
They've been doing really good
Did
work.
you see Keanu?
I did not finish Keanu only
I
because
loved it.
it's kind of a drawn out skit.
Mm-hmm.
It's cute. I didn't finish it. This is something that feels much more personal to Jordan Peele
Oh
specifically.
yeah.
And I think he'd been working on the script for so long, and that's why it is so tight. When you watch this, Noel, it is one of the tightest scripts.
Mm.
It's just great to see something everything has been thought out, and it all seems very close to the person making the film. And I think it's just like pitch perfect tonally.
No, I can't wait. I'll spend the money, I guess.
It's worth
But
it.
it might
It
be
really is.
buying. I mean, you might just be only. Well, anyway, yeah, I know. I'm so glad to hear confirmation because I trust you guys.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
It's not just hyped, and I mean, for me, like, and don't get it twisted, Mons. I did like it, but it had a huge amount of hype that wasn't quite as.
I try to ignore hype. It only spoils me on movies. Like even so, hype does nothing but ruin movies to me. On really good movies, it's either not as good as the hype, and like it can give you a bad opinion on what would have been a good movie. I don't know. I have an issue with hype. I try to stay away from.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
It's the context in which you watch it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not trying to look at it as from that. I'm trying to look at it without all that, and I just don't agree with the hype.
Yeah, well, I think the hype kind of ruined the book for me because everybody's like, "Oh, it's one of his magnum opus." It's not. His magnum opus is Dark Tower.
Really difficult to get through.
Yeah, everybody was like, "Oh, it's one of his greatest and it's one of his longest." And then I got through it and I'm like, "This was a lot of rambling."
It is one of his longest.
But yeah, exactly. It's just rambling. But had I not had all the hype, I probably would have just been like, "Yeah, this is a great book. It's got, iffy parts." So then I read the book and then I watched the new movie and I'm like, "This is more what I wanted. This movie right here, not the book that I just sat through."
But it's only the first half.
Yeah, it's only the first half of it.
Okay, I figured. Yeah, I did see the
and
TV.
the book is disjointed. It's not like a clean first half and second half either.
Okay.
It's all mixed up.
Hmm.
So like the end, I haven't gotten to the end of the book yet because it's so long, but the end of the book hasn't reached the end of the film yet. Like it's because it's jumping back and forth between timelines, and so I think the movies did a much better job at keeping what we need to see.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Noel, you're are we on? We're on Greed, right? Yeah, Greed.
This is a stretch. I have to admit this is a real stretch, but I really want to mention this movie. It's called Amsterdammed.
I love it.
From 1988. And let me read the IMDb. A mysterious diver hiding in Amsterdam's canal system embarks on a rampage of gruesome murders, terrifying city officials and leaving few clues for the city's best detective.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the images of it right now.
It's so good. Who doesn't suspect that both his new girlfriend and 12-year-old daughter may be closer than he is to finding the killer. So, I mean, it's like, the usual typical serial killer police procedural, but it's Dutch. It's like Amsterdam in the 80s. So it's got a completely different vibe than you would get to any American movie or any European movie that we've seen before. And it's really like, it's so well crafted. Well, basically, you feel like Amsterdam has so few options to do commercial, it's a commercial horror film that they really put everything they had into it. And so much of it takes place. The opening sequence with the opening titles are just worth the price of admission alone. And they really use the canals really, really well. And there is a speedboat chase through the canals. And it's not like, it's borderline onto, James Bond territory, but it's scarier because by that time you care about the detective, and the murders are really intense and very visceral. And it wasn't predictable at all. And it was just a really superbly crafted. I haven't seen like a really good, satisfying serial killer movie. It's definitely old fashioned. And the lead cop is very much the Dutch idea of macho, for us. He's like really small. He's like physically very slim, and he wears a black jacket. It's got kind of not huge shoulders, but it is 80s. And the girl, his daughter, does look like she's dressed from a spree, but you get this whole different vibe of culture and the way people talk and the way people. Now, I read a review on IMDb that says this. The writer said, "I'm Dutch," and like every other Dutch movie, the acting is terrible. But I didn't get the bad acting because maybe it's a language thing. Like maybe he has better sense of nuance as to the behavior. But I thought it was like a good. That I like the acting. I mean, it's what acting should be in a this kind of a thriller. But I guess to a certain extent, it's about novelty. But I'll back up without giving too much away. But I don't like My Bloody Valentine, even though it's considered a classic.
Oh, I love My Bloody Valentine.
I mean, I don't dislike it, but I don't think it's as. The thing to me that's interesting about My Bloody Valentine, the original, is that it's like the first Marxist serial killer film. It's like if the workers had been properly taken care of, this wouldn't be happening. Like if the bosses and if the owners had been, were treated their workers fair, if there was a union, So I like My Bloody Valentine for this. And let me just say that that's similar to what's going on in Amsterdam. And it's really a stretch, but greed, I think, is definitely at the baseline of these films where the bosses, out of sheer greed, don't take care. Like a disaster happens and there's always some kind of serial killer or ghost repercussion to that kind of greed. And this is a really well done version of it. So I highly recommend it. It's very unique and very fresh. It's fresh because you've never seen. It really is Amsterdam, and those really are Dutch people walking along the canal on their bike. You know what I mean? It's like, wow. It's, I watched In Bruges recently, and it's like that. It's like, oh, we're really going to spend time in this city and see how it works, because the film is very much about how the city is laid out and how the canals work, and it's interesting. So, yeah.
I just had a friend move to Amsterdam. I should send her this movie.
Really?
And be like, here, watch this.
And it's completely in Dutch, and I just think they must have called it Amsterdam as to get Americans or English speakers there. And I don't know whether that pun would mean anything in Dutch, but they all speak English anyway. But the whole film is in Dutch, which I like to see a horror film in a different language. So
you should watch Lore.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, I added that to my list. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It really is a lot of fun, yeah.
Okay, so my Greed film is a movie that didn't really get that well reception, which I'm not sure why, but it's a 2016. Actually, no, I am sure why, but I liked it. But it's a 2016 film called A Cure for Wellness.
Okay, I have not seen it. It has been on my list.
I
heard it might be okay. It's Gore Verbinski, right?
I think so. Yeah, Gore Verbinski. It's got Dane DeHaan in it. Whoops. Yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But from everything I was reading online reviews, everybody hated it. But I feel like they hated it because it is much more akin to classic horror. It is very slow. It is very about. I mean, it's got pieces of like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, a little bit of like. I don't really want to say Jacob's Ladder because Jacob's Ladder goes way trippier than this film does. But it's got a lot of questioning reality, but it's also got like a few scores from like Phantom of the Opera and like just classic monster movies.
Interesting. Oh, I want to see it now.
I was so, and you know what? I love my boy Jason Isaacs, and he's in it. He's the doctor in this film, and I'm just like, Jason Isaacs. But
have you seen the OA?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, what? Did you say gay?
The OA.
The OA.
Man, I was so down for that until I realized what OA stood for, and I was just like, oh.
Okay, so I adore it.
Oh, really?
But I'll tell you about why later.
It's a TV show.
Yeah, it's a TV show.
Yeah, it's a
we
Netflix.
Don't have to waste our time on the podcast about it. I love those filmmakers and.
Anyways, we'll talk about it later. Anyways, Cure for Wellness. It's greed because the main character goes to this clinic not because he needs healing, because he's trying to get one of his business partners to sign papers to relinquish his control, and everything he does is about him getting rich. And it just keeps... A sane man would have left a long time ago, noticing something's off, but he's just like, no, I gotta get me some of that moolah. So it's such a good movie though, and I was really upset that so many people didn't like it. I feel like it's the whole first half of the movie is like a psychological thriller, and then the whole last half of the movie is a classical monster film, like classic
Interesting.
horror.
I never heard it described that way. What I heard, everybody said it was just way, way, way too long. That was the complaint I heard.
I loved it though. Give me hours on end of "Am I going crazy?" and I love you.
Interesting.
Yeah, and like conspiracy cover-ups and like weird like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde science and like Frankenstein and I love it. I want more of it.
Doesn't Jason Isaacs use a really absurd accent though, like a really German accent or something? I heard a part of it.
But it kind of makes sense when you know his character's background. Like, it's not just Jason Isaacs being weird. I mean, it is, but his character is weird.
Right.
So
and now that you're telling me it's more gothic, then maybe it makes sense to be.
The whole first half of the movie is one movie, and the whole second half is a completely different movie. So I think that's probably where some people got lost too, because they came in expecting one thing, and then at the end it flipped, and they were like, "What is this?"
Now you make me want to see it.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it so much. But that's my greed, because he was a little greedy little nugget. All right, so the next sin, let's go for envy.
All right, envy. Ooh. So for my envy choice, I choose Killing of a Sacred Deer by Yorgos Lanthimos. That movie was intense. Very interesting. It's from the gentleman who brought you Dogtooth and The Lobster.
Oh, The Lobster. I want to see that one. I haven't seen it yet.
Very good. It stars Colin Farrell and Nicole Kidman. And the setup is so very strange because the entire movie is so stylized. All of the dialogue, everyone is a little strange, but everyone is acting in the same way, so you get into the world. I believe it's based on a Shakespeare play.
Shakespeare?
Yes.
Which one?
I will have to look up that later. But I'm pretty sure it's an old fable or something.
It's what?
Or a fable of some kind. I believe. I thought someone had mentioned to me that it was a Shakespeare allegory having to do with God and the devil, but it's basically how much should I give away? No. um,
Oh,
it's about a heart surgeon who is trying to be supportive of a kid, of one of the patients that he lost. So the kid doesn't have a father anymore, and you don't know why he's being so attentive to this kid. Um, and but yeah, yeah, Colin Firth, he plays the surgeon, and he has his own family. He has Nicole Kidman, and he has two children, a teenage girl and a young boy. And when he and a little cameo from Alicia Silverstein.
she's so fantastic in this movie. She is so fantastic in her scene. I wish there was more of her. I feel like
I
there should
know.
have been. She's incredible.
I
It's
want
such a,
her.
it's the
Yeah,
most. It was my favorite part of the movie. I'll say that.
she was great. Just strange little pieces of um, human, just the most uh, the most fragile parts of humanity explored in the most matter of fact way.
Hmm.
It's really interesting that, they'll be at a party and they'll say like, "Oh, what did you do this weekend?" "Oh, well, this and that. My daughter had her period." And oh, that's great. And it's just like you don't talk about that, but in this movie you do. Everybody is just a little bit off kilter. Uh,
Okay.
and I don't know if I want to give you the main device of why it's
Yeah.
so crazy.
I did want to watch this movie. I saw an interview with Nicole Kidman and she showed like a few clips from it.
Okay, let's
I
just
do
say
want to watch it.
it's about
But Envy was your. Sorry, go ahead.
yes, I chose envy because I believe the boy is envious of the family he can't have.
Then why didn't I have so much to say about this movie? And I would love. I know I have the perfect response to that in terms of there was a simple thing the filmmaker could have done at the very end that would have been so perfect.
I would love to know what it is because I don't think this is a perfect film by any
No,
means.
no, my God, no,
But
no. I mean, it would have been perfect in terms of the idea you're presenting. I thought he was going to walk and sit at the. I thought he was going to leave the counter and take and sit at the
oh
booth.
yes, 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 yes,
Like,
yes,
why?
yes.
That would have been perfect.
I don't know why he didn't do that
I guess
because
they
he
took
has
on.
the power to do so.
It was. It would have
But
been made so. It would have made sense with the world as it had gone up to that point.
yes. So Monica
But
basically, without spoiling it, there is an imbalance in this world and a balance has to be made.
yeah, I think Monica, you'll that aspect of it. There, I think it's if we're going to call it a fable or a metaphor,
Mm-hmm.
it's too simple of a fable for so long and elaborate a film. It's
Okay.
over
I agree.
if
Okay.
you were going to whittle it down. But my problems about it are more specific. But you might pick up things, Monica. Yeah, there might be some narrative things going on underneath. I didn't realize there was inspirations that I wasn't. I don't know. Hitchcock, Shakespeare doesn't usually end. It doesn't go that dark.
Well, but if you think
Oh,
about King Lear,
a Lear.
I don't think it's Lear,
About-
but the choice that a father has to make and
yeah,
the members of his family manipulating him to make a very specific choice.
wow.
Pretty
Anyway,
interesting.
there's something to
Um,
think of. But I'd love to talk to you
yes.
more about the problems I had with it. Not
Yeah.
now.
Sure. And then one strange detail that I did notice that I thought was very interesting is how sex is dealt with in the film.
Oh my
Because
God.
the way that Colin Firth and Nicole Kidman have sex, she just lies on the bed
Well, the first thing she
like a
does,
body.
she goes into bed with him the first time we see. I'm just going to add some information. And she says, what does she say? She just says one word of, what do you call it when you're under, she says anesthesia. And he nods yes. And then she
What?
lies like,
So he
So-
wants a patient to lie
I mean-
still.
Oh, that's
it's go
special.
beyond, but she says anesthesia. And then she lies back.
Right?
It's a very problematic film. Not because of that, because there's way more perverted sex than that. Not all of it happens, but a lot of it's talked about.
Now, it's problematic, but not in the ways that I think people think it might be, because I think the shock value of the film works. I think it's strange enough to work, but I do agree that it could have been a short film. It would have been a tidier film.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm not exactly sure what he was getting at.
I don't know either, but it was a feast for the eyes. There was a great score.
Yeah, I had real problems with anyway,
okay, we gotta go.
It's definitely worth watching, Monica.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah,
and
I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. Well, I'm always interested to hear what you have to say. But what are we on? Envy?
Envy, yes. So what's your envy?
I had never seen The Hitcher. The Hitcher is like, it's like one of those movies where you know what it's going to be.
Which one?
Think, the original, 80. What is it?
1986?
That's right.
Okay.
The Hitcher, 1986. A young man who escapes the clutches of a murderous hitchhiker is subsequently stalked by the Hitcher and framed for his crimes. That's terribly written, but that's basically what it is. But it was one of those movies for me where it's like, I know what this is going to be. I don't really need to watch it. Mm-hmm. And I know it's going to make me, it's going to be I knew it would be a thrill ride, but I thought it would be, I had heard it was mean-spirited and blah, blah. It is so fucking fantastic. It is the most beautiful film. It's not a question of like, yes, you've seen something like this before. It's how it was done. It's so, okay, I'll try to not go talk too much. But I read somewhere that if a film starts with a character waking up, you can assume, or chances are the rest of the film is going to be some kind of, it's going to have a surreal dreamlike quality to it. Not literally he's dreaming, but this film, C. Thomas Howell, at the very beginning, he falls asleep and he wakes up, and then and I thought, okay, that's what this is, and it totally pays off. The colors and the landscapes and the fact that he's going west, which is like a whole thing in The Shining. It's a whole like, I'm going to go west and reinvent myself kind of a thing. C. Thomas Howell is actually the age of his character. The actor is the age of his character, which I love because we never see that.
Yeah.
He is so fantastic. He was such an amazing child actor, young actor. He's riveting. And of course, I thought it would only be about the performance of Rutger Hauer, but it isn't. There's so much else going on in this film. And the film, it's definitely, it's very much, Monica, a shadow, the self and the shadow self. They don't make any bones about the fact that that is two sides of the same, not two sides of the same person like Jekyll and Hyde, but that we're seeing like a deep, what do you call it? It's almost archaic. It's almost like, I'm not explaining it well, except to say that the sexual tension or the sexual energy between C. Thomas Howell's character and Rutger Hauer's character in a lesser film, you'd have to tease it out. In this film, it's like totally up front. Like at one point, one of the cops says, there is something going on between the two of you, and I don't want to know what it is. So it's like, they're very up front with all the subtext that it's got this mythical quality. It's not realistic at all. And like, and then there are all these images that sort of fit in, but they really don't. They're really just nightmare fuel. Like he's eating French fries at a diner, and then one of the French fries turns out to be a severed finger. And you could try to think, well, how did Rutger Hauer get the finger in there? How did he blah, blah. But it's like, it's not about that. The idea of almost, it's that image is filled with so much Freudian and Jung. It's got so much in it, it's so packed with so many dream ideas. The whole film is like that. And you would think that a film about driving through the Western landscape would be, it's like Thelma and Louise in its artificiality, that they really are on they really are in the desert. They really are showing you a lot of driving and the landscape. But the way they color it, the cinematography makes it look unreal. And I think it's very much about what dreams are about, which is like reorganizing your identity. This is about growing up, right? When C. Thomas Howell's character has to deal with this monstrosity who won't let him go for whatever reason, and that he's a different person on the other end. I think Rutger Hauer's character, my interpretation is that Hitcher wants to die, but he doesn't want to kill himself, and he's looking for the perfect match. This isn't really spoken, Monica. This is my interpretation, and that C. Thomas Howell is the only person he's encountered who can fight back. So the whole thing is like this struggle.
The greatest game.
Yeah. And it's very surreal. And the identity thing, what was I going to say about that? It's not just Rutger Hauer. I thought it was just going to be like Rutger Hauer going off for 2 hours. It's not that at all. He fits into this very intricate thing. Everything is interesting. There's all these, it is very much about the West. It's very much about America, the American landscape, and the idea of dreaming yourself into a new, the nightmare journey, almost like a Monica, not literary writing, but some kind of like a dream nightmare, like an Alice in Wonderland kind of structure. Okay. Where you go into a really dangerous, really frightening world, and then you sort of come out the other side. And it was way exceeded. It was so much better than it needed to be. I thought it was just going to be sleazy, and it's so much more than that. So I was kind of moved by it, I have to say. I was really, this is what I was going to say. He wanted to find an equal. No, I think I said that. So exciting. I need to see it on the big screen. I would love to see it on the big screen because it's so beautiful. Crystal, you've seen it, right?
Yeah, well, no? I've seen the Sean Bean remake.
Oh yeah, we saw the Sean Bean one together.
Is it any good? I don't know if the remake's any good or not.
Sean Bean's very pretty.
Yeah.
Rutger Hauer's not, and that's part of his thing. Is he really makes him? I mean, oh my God.
I remember me and Crystal were commenting on that one because Sean Bean was like trying to rape her, and we're like, "Why are you fighting?"
From the record.
That's so terrible. After our rape revenge episode.
Oh, God, we call ourselves feminists. Mm-hmm. Monica, you're not supposed to tell anyone this. This is our secret.
Oh, that was private conversation.
But interestingly, you say
Drogo. Don't talk about it.
There's a moment where you think Rutger Hauer might do that, but he doesn't. He's not interested in her. Oh, this is why I think it's envy. I think that Rutger Hauer envies C. Thomas Howell's being somebody young and having a future and having a life and wanting and seeing a development. And Rutger Hauer's character, he's psychotic, but he's also seems to be out of options, or he's grinding down to an end. And this is like a way to end his life. It's similar to Seven in that way, and I won't say any more than that. But so yeah, it's envy because I think there's a deep envy and desire that Rutger Hauer feels for C. Thomas Howell, and I'm not going to say it's lascivious, but Rutger Hauer makes everything lascivious because he's so physical, and he needed a bigger career. Why didn't he have a bigger career? He should have been a bigger star. Anyway, so that's you have to watch it to see the envy thing I'm talking about, but You guys have to see the original. I think you'll see it. Okay, Monica, I'm done.
No, that was a good one.
All right.
My envy, surprise, surprise, is Get Out.
Oh. So it fits in other ones.
We've already kind of discussed it, but yeah, it's being envious of what you don't have. That's the whole greed thing too, wanting what you can't have. So that was a quick one because we already talked about Get Out.
There's gonna be some doubles coming up, so.
All right. The big one, Lust.
So I have 3.
Oh
I
goodness.
thought I was gonna have more.
Okay, this is gonna be hard for me to keep up because I'm trying to throw up pictures as you list them.
Oh, I know.
You know what these ones are.
Okay.
Just quickly, I put Raw under my lust list
Okay.
because it is about female sexuality,
Mhm.
and it's about. I mean, she literally gets the anime nosebleed
Mhm.
looking at a hot guy.
Mhm.
It's this very cliche thing that happens in Japanese comics and
Yeah. For
films
some odd reason, when you're turned on, your nose bleeds.
Interesting. I didn't know that was an anime trope.
I think
That's
it's.
so
I think it's just supposed to be
men.
I think it's supposed to be symbolic of blood flow.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
blood flowing
Yeah.
somewhere, and it just comes out. So anyway, Raw, great.
Absolutely.
Dealing with homosexuality, and I think the entire theme of the film is actually like sexual, discovering a sexual peccadillo, and dealing with whether or not that's okay. The second one I'm going to mention quickly is It Comes at Night, directed by Trey Edward Schultz. And I only say this because of the main character. He causes a lot of bullshit because and it is not his fault, but it is his fault. Because
You talking about the boy? Yeah.
He's a young man who is becoming a man, and he has no options for reproduction in his life until this new family moves in. Quickly, the synopsis of the story is that there's been some kind of plague, zombies, monsters, I don't know what it is, but people are getting infected. So Joel Edgerton and his family, his stepson and his wife, live alone. Yeah.
I thought it might have been a logical son. It could be.
I don't know. I thought it was his stepson.
I don't know.
On a picture I saw. I don't remember. It could be his father. And basically they have to live alone because nobody could be trusted in a thing kind of way. You don't know who is infected by whatever this is.
Wasn't he in the Thing remake?
What?
Wasn't he in the Thing remake? Joel Edgerton?
Might have been, actually. Not the remake, but the prequel.
Yeah, sorry, the prequel. I think that was him.
Yeah, he might have been in that one.
Yeah.
He's in a lot of great stuff these days.
Interesting actor.
He really is. I really enjoy his performances.
Everybody was so good, but the boy was...
I think me and Paul spotted him in something recently. Was it the old Star Wars?
He's in Bright.
Yeah, but we've been going through watching the old all the Star Wars movies again. Yeah, he's in the Star Wars remakes. He plays Skywalker.
His dad.
Yeah, his
mom's boyfriend.
Because I was watching it with Paul. Yeah, I was watching it with Paul, and I'm like, hey, that's the dude from Bright. That's Joel Edgerton.
Right.
Is he English? He's English.
I don't know. I've never heard him talk.
How do you see? Tell me more about how you see lust sort of playing a role.
Have you seen this movie, Noel?
Yeah, I just watched it like last night or the night before.
The whole movie is about the little boy being in love with that woman.
Well, in love, or
she's the first. Yeah, she's the first female option he's had.
Yeah.
You don't know what it is, and I interpret it as a lot of things. His puberty. I mean, if you want to get cruder, I mean, wet dreams, you could say. I feel like that lust that he has for her is gonna, like, potentially, if it doesn't play out the way
he has those dreams about her.
He has those dreams about her, but if it doesn't play out like it does, it could have been even a different way that unravels both families because
there are lots of ways.
Yeah, and this I envisioned a particular way because of this boy's lust for the other wife. But I mean, that's why I put it in this category.
Yeah, I can see that.
But you're not implying that anything happened between them, are you?
No, not at all. It's one-sided completely.
Well, it could be both-sided if it was a different situation. I feel like the way it was filmed is that he's as much of an object of her gaze as she is of his. But it's like one of those things where you're meeting up with somebody that you know is not available, and they know you're not. It's not appropriate, and yet there's still, you could see the stirrings of attraction. Just a
Maybe
touch.
a little
If they
bit,
had more time, they
but more in
probably.
a like, I mean, I would say more in a like, you go, well, what are those noises?
No.
I would say it's more of like oh, you go to your friend's house and his mom's hot,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and she enjoys flirting,
yeah.
but it's not serious.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like, she doesn't
She
like
likes
you.
the
She's
attention.
just, yeah.
But anyway, that was the second one. My third one is just very quickly, The Beguiled by Sofia Coppola. It is wonderful, and it is all fueled by female lust. And I mean, you could say every sin, to be honest, but I think lust is a big part of it, since there's only one male character in the entire film. And
I have not even heard of this movie.
excuse
haven't?
me,
Yeah.
where have you been?
I'm adding
This
it to my
movie
list.
has Nicole Kidman, Kirsten Dunst,
I
Elle
know.
Fanning, Colin Farrell. It
He's the
is
boy.
wonderful. Monica,
There's
you will adore this.
And there's an earlier version, Monica, from like the 70s, which is from like the same story from the male perspective, apparently. But I have to say I haven't seen either yet.
And this is a horror film?
Well,
Loosely related to it might be my favorite Sofia Coppola film.
Is it social horror?
it's
What
like
do you mean social horror? It's more like horror in a way. Okay, let me tell you, it's like the female Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like roles and I don't know, just the way it looks is the deception,
There's a social hierarchy.
yeah, and
There's a manipulation.
for social horror, like a lot of movies, like I don't know, you could kind of consider Jane Austen films to be social horror in the sense
oh,
of
totally.
Sure.
Oh,
for women, yeah. So that's what
Yeah,
I'm kind
in a
of
very
thinking.
polite way.
Mhm.
or not.
It is a terrifying film in the most polite of ways. I love it. I love every second. So those are my my lusts.
Interesting. Now I'm really motivated to see The Beguiled.
Yeah, I'm all for that stuff.
Oh shoot, is it my turn? Oh my
Yes.
god. Sorry. So I finally saw Nosferatu the vampire, not
Oh.
the silent one.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, with Willem Dafoe?
No,
No,
that's
not that
Shadow
one?
of the Vampire.
Oh wait, what's this one?
This is the one. This was the remake done by Werner Herzog,
Oh
1979.
no, I haven't seen this.
You guys haven't seen this? Count Dracula moves from Transylvania to Wismar. He resets it in Germany, spreading the Black Plague across the land. Only a woman pure of heart can bring an end to his reign of terror. So it definitely deviates from the story, but it's less about that. Because it's Herzog, he throws in like everything sort of he always throws in some kind of documentary. So like when Jonathan's going from on the Borgo Pass, Monica, the whole part of the novel, Herzog loses interest in Jonathan, and he starts doing these incredible aerial shots of the landscape of Transylvania, and it is just like these amazing mountains covered in trees and the sky, and it just becomes this weird. So that there's that whole thing, which is Herzogian touch, and then later in the film, we've talked about how Dracula for its Joker is a metaphor for an evil plague coming from the east and going to take over the modern world. Well, Herzog just says, well, let's not leave it metaphor. Let's actually stage a plague. And he got tens of thousands of rats, and he let them
my
loose
goodness.
across this medieval, the square of a town of Wismar. This small. Apparently, it's it's a German town on the coast, or it's a nautical town, whatever. And he just lets all these rats. So you see again aerial shots above of this whole medieval square of a medieval town just overrun by all these rats. So it's like we can't even do metaphor anymore because he's literal. It's like, well, what's the point of Dracula now when this is the plague coming? It's like Dracula. So it's like, did Dracula bring the plague? Is he doing it on purpose? Are the rats his friends? But the main thing is that it's played by oh Jesus, I'm running out of brain juice. Who's his, the crazy guy? Kinski. Klaus Kinski plays Nosferatu. And it is the most heartbreaking version of Dracula you've ever seen. He plays him as just this person who is so stricken and in so much emotional pain, and it only gets worse as it goes. So it's a very different take on Dracula. He looks like the Nosferatu Dracula, but he's so pathetic, and just your heart breaks for him the whole time. So that's really weird. It's funny and it's weird, and it's also got a big feminist twist. The way that we talked about, Coppola's Dracula, how he kind of turns it feminist at the very end. He stole that from Herzog. Watch the Herzog, and you'll see how Coppola stole that ending, where it really becomes all about, Mina. And Mina is played by our favorite horror hottie, whose name I can't remember right now.
Ryder.
Winona Ryder. She was in the Tenant, the one who was in the Tenant that we love, the one who she's also. It's Johnny.
Johnny.
Oh my God.
She is my favorite horror hottie.
She is between the Tenant.
What was her name?
Possession and Nosferatu. She's the greatest horror actress.
Isabelle Adjani.
Isabella Johnny. You guys have to see this.
She's in Possession.
Oh, that girl. Oh, man.
And she's completely different in all three films. And they're sort of doing a silent film thing, and they're sort of not, and it's really, really, really interesting. So it's a very different take on it, but boy, it's powerful.
What year did it come out?
79?
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So you guys definitely have to see it. And then Shadow, Monica, Shadow of the Vampire is about supposedly the filming of the original Nosferatu.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. Which is very fun, but it's different.
Yeah, I like Shadow of the Vampire a lot. That's a fun.
Oh, so one quick question.
Okay.
How does lust figure into this?
I think that
he lusts after the girl.
I think even though he's pathetic, it's more than lust. It's almost like, oh God, maybe lust isn't the right word. He lusts after her. It's such a pathetic kind of lust. It's like he's already defeated before he begins, but his desire can't be quenched. So it's a certain kind of lust. It's a kind of lust that will never be gratified, or he'll never be satisfied, or he'll never be happy. I guess The Hunger has some of that in it, but more chic and slick. No, he's not. No, that's misleading. It's a very particular kind of lust that's a very pathetic lust. It's a very tragic lust. So I think you guys will love it.
Well, Dracula's the ultimate stalker.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But he's... Yeah. They make him look like a rat and not so much... Kinski was an evil human being, but boy, he could act, and he really could play a very tragic soul in a way that you empathize with. But then you find out who he really was, and we talked about that when we talked about Rosemary's Baby. But anyway.
Okay.
I'm done. Sorry.
That was good. No, my lust is a movie that Noel recommended to me that I just cannot stop flipping my shit about. And it's Lair of the White Worm. I love this movie beyond belief.
I need to watch this.
It is so much fun. I've recommended it to so many people, especially because, like I told you, this is the movie that I've been looking for since I was a child, that I started watching when I was a child, and my mom was like, "What are you doing?" And I have been looking for this movie.
That's so fun.
And yeah, it's so good. But yeah, obviously it's all about
It's
lust.
lust.
It's got
It's
lust
all
written all over it.
yeah.
It's all about a woman who lures people into her den and white worm business. It's fantastic though. It's cheesy. We've talked about this movie before. It's cheesy. It's got a whole lot of fast talking British sassy people, which is like the greatest. It's great. My synopses are so much shorter than everyone else's.
Sorry.
I'm just like,
Don't worry
it's
about
great. It's
It's
great.
visually
Just watch
so
it.
beautiful. Too.
Oh
I will
yeah,
watch it, I promise.
it
I
has
need to
some
talk about
like,
it with you.
yeah. I'm telling everyone to watch it. Like, if you like cheesy, if you like
You know I do.
kind of 80s ish, not really over the top, but
Late,
still in the realm of good. Like, it's
Okay.
not just like horrible. And then the fast talking British, like all My Girl Friday kind of thing, where they're
Okay.
just so snippy and it's just I love it. I love it, you guys.
Great.
What's his name who plays the
Hugh Grant.
I think it's one of Hugh Grant's best performances.
Hugh
I mean,
Grant and Peter Capaldi.
yeah, they're so great.
Mhm.
Everybody's great. Peter Capaldi is so weird. Like you said, Monica, I was thinking about it. It's like, yes, he looks old even when he was so
He
young.
does. It's so funny. That guy's he's one of those people that picked an age and stuck with it.
Hugh Grant is so underrated, but that's a conversation for another time. What sin are we on?
What's next one?
So that was lust. So let's go to sloth.
Oh boy.
Okay, so my sloth is gonna make you laugh really hard because
Alright.
it is Gerald's Game, directed by Mike Flanagan.
I can't wait to see it. I still haven't seen it yet.
Now I only stretch it to sloth because she's in a bed the entire
Yeah.
time.
That works though.
But
It's
isn't
good.
it not her fault?
It is not her fault. Also, I would
Sorry.
like to say that it's sloth because I would not the ending, no, but the appendix
Mhm.
is incredibly strange and lazy. Like I don't understand why they bothered.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say what it is, but I don't like it at all.
Yeah, it kinda
makes the rest of
ruined.
the film not as good.
Is it-
There was a
is it
magic to the film that kind of took away.
Mm.
Yeah.
Is the
It-
appendix thing in the book?
I've
It is
never read the book. So it's based on. So I didn't give a synopsis. It's another Netflix film that was based on a Stephen King novel, starring Carla Gugino and what is his name?
We talked about him last time. Bruce Greenwood.
Bruce Greenwood, Mr. 65-year-old abs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that dude is in such good shape, but it's crazy.
He's another one of those people that picked an age and stuck with it.
Pick that age,
Yeah.
but I don't think he had those abs in Double Jeopardy. But anyway,
Maybe not.
it's an exploration into a failed. It's a failed. Okay, so it starts out as an exploration as to why a marriage has failed.
Mm-hmm.
Then it digs deeper into the psychology of Carla Gugino's character and explores why her life has led her
Ah.
to the decisions she's made within her marriage.
Sloth
Why
on
is she
multiple levels.
Right? Why is she the type of person to let her marriage get to here?
Mm-hmm.
And it goes way, 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 way back to her childhood. And simultaneously, as they explore that side of her and the weakness, her arc is it's great because she's she starts out as a traumatized, weak little girl and ends up making decisions to make herself a stronger person. And it might even be, I even think it's all like a metaphor for divorce. I mean, in general, even though it's dealing with it in a much more macabre way because it's dealing with death and also the threat on her own life. But, you come out the other side of a traumatic experience, a completely different person with different perspectives. And there is a scene of gore that I was not prepared for that was amazing. And I won't say what it is, but it is one of the most effective, just a couple shots, and it'll make you scream. Loved it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I just remembered what you're talking about, yeah.
I looked up and I was like, ah!
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Completely jarring. Yeah.
I heard nothing but good things about it, so I'm really looking forward. And I think that Stephen King does internal monologue better than anything else. I don't think his dialogue is very good, but I think when he does like what's going on in somebody's head, it's better.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a stretch for Sloth. This was a hard one. I finally no. You know what? I'm going to change my mind. This is called. This is his Sloth. It's called Creepy, and it's from 2016. It's Japanese.
Oh.
And it's Yoshi Kurosawa. This was one of, I don't know, he made like 2 films that year, or I don't know, it got lost in his output, but bear with me on this description. Having resigned as a profiler following an injury, Koichi Takakura and his wife Yasuko moved to a place closer to his new job as a university lecturer in criminal psychology. His present colleague comes across a cold case involving the disappearance of 3 members of a family, leaving only an unreliable witness, Saki Honda. Koichi, the former profiler, uses his profiling background to talk to Saki and begins to see parallels with his new neighbor, the unpredictable and secretive Masayuki Nishino. Those are the character names. This is really... It's one of the most disturbing films I've seen in a really long time. It's J-horror, but it's not predictable. It's long, and it goes in all these strange directions. And the wife of Koichi, Yasuko, plays. This description doesn't explain how crucial Yasuko is in the first half of the film, and what you find, and the actor who plays Masayuki Nishino, the neighbor, has gotten a lot of buzz. Well, not buzz. He's an old guy. I mean, he's known in Japan, but his performance has been really noted. And somebody compared him to, oh no, this is terrible. I'll forget these names. It's he's like a schlub. He's the laziest serial killer in the world. That's where the Sloth comes in. And it's hilarious, and it's the most disturbing portrait of a killer or a psychopath that I've seen in a long time, because it's so nuanced. And the film is long, and it really takes its time so that all these sort of the complexities of everybody's character get spun out. I'm most disappointed with the lead guy. He's handsome, the former profiler, and he's not nearly as good as the actress who plays his wife or the crazy guy next door. It is really disturbing, and it does go into torture porn territory, and I didn't like it. I didn't like that aspect of it. It left me with a really bad taste in my mouth, but it's so well done as a horror movie, and I've hardly heard anybody talk about it. So yeah, creepy.
I've heard of it, but I didn't look into it, so I will definitely.
But he's definitely, it's the laziest psycho you've ever. So it's funny, kind of, but it's horrifying. Okay. So I definitely recommend it, but it's a horror movie, so it's almost like it's like 3 different movies, so you never know where it's gonna go. Okay, I'm done.
So you guys have taken a few of my movies, and Creepy is not one of mine, but the movie I'm going to recommend is called Creep. And for a second, I thought you took my movie. I was just like, no.
No. The Duplass one, right?
Yes, I love this movie. And I really wanted to talk about this movie. Of course, you guys know I love found footage. But I wasn't sure how to put it in. And then I watched the sequel, and I realized that this is Sloth because his problem really manifests in the sequel, where he's a serial killer that's stuck in a rut because he just keeps doing the same thing over and over again. But Creep is it's so much fun. It is about a serial killer who goes on Craigslist and asks to hire a filmographer to film a few days for him, and each time the scenario is a little different. In Creep, it's because he's like, oh, I just found out I had cancer, but I want my child to know who I am, so I'm gonna film, like, taking a bath and, like, eating breakfast. I want him to have things where he can eat breakfast and put the video on, and it's like I'm eating breakfast with him. And,
that's kind of creepy in and of itself.
Yeah, it is. Like, it's first you're like, oh, that's sweet. And then he's like getting in the bathtub with me. And I'm like, okay, this is getting weirder and weirder the more it's going. But it's really fun, and I really like it. It's written by Patrick Bryce, and he's the director, and he's also the filmographer in the movie. So it's kind of interesting because the guy who's filming is the director. But yeah, it's one of those movies that is within the realm of possibility. Absolutely. Like, I am sure that this has happened before, so it adds a little extra creep value to it. But everything this guy does, it's like he wins you over, which is what serial killers do because they're super charming. He wins you over because he's super charming, and then there's just these little things in his personality that, like, raise a red flag, and you're just like, oh, I need to get out of here right now. But then he charms you again, and so it's kind of a love letter to the paranoid person who's afraid of serial killers. Which me listening to My Favorite Murder, I'm like, they would like Creep.
But are you recommending though both 1 and 2?
2 is definitely not as strong as 1, but I feel like it completes the story. And like I said, it wasn't until I watched 2 that I was like, this is a sloth film, because this guy is basically going through serial killer midlife crisis. And it's kind of interesting to see that point of view and that cycle of, they always say how, like, with serial killers, it always has to get bigger and grander and sooner, and like it keeps anteing up constantly because the high is just less each time. And so this guy hasn't been anteing up. He's just been doing the same thing over and over again until the point that it's driving him mad on a whole nother level. But yeah, it's definitely fun. It is definitely creepy. It'll definitely, like, make you wonder about people. And even if you're already paranoid about people, it will make you more paranoid about people, just in general out there in the world. Yeah, I really liked it.
I've heard really good things about it.
Yeah, it was.
Side question: why do the 2 Duplass brothers look nothing alike?
I didn't know there were brothers.
They are brothers. The other guy is the one who's in Transparent.
Okay. But they maybe I just haven't
Whoa.
seen them enough.
I don't think they look alike, but
Yeah.
They had the same nose.
I do really like Mark Duplass films.
Yeah, I love Mark Duplass. I don't know, maybe one takes after the mom and the other takes after the dad.
Maybe.
But they do have the same nose, and they actually have the same smile. But, like, their eyes are way different.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were brothers.
They are. So our last one, yeah?
What's left? We have
Hubris
Pride.
Pride.
Pride, yes.
Yes. In my case, I've done hubris, so I might have just a slightly different definition than yours. So I have 2 of them. Oh, should we pause for Noel?
No. Sorry, I just needed to. Sorry.
So 2 of them. One we've already mentioned. Mother. Spoiler alert, if you have not seen Mother, please don't listen to this part. Skip ahead. But, okay. Hubris in the way that some people may perceive Old Testament God as portrayed by Javier Bardem has very much hubris in the film. just dealing with how much pride he has in his written word and all of the love he's getting from his admirers. And that's all I'll say about it, because we have to do a whole another thing about Mother. And my actual hubris recommendation is one that I bet that none of you have. It's called Gyo Tokyo Fish Attack. And
Definitely. Oh, I heard all about it though.
oh my God, it is the strangest film I saw all year. It's directed by Takauki Hirao, and it's based on a manga by Junji Ito, one of my faves. He's one of the best.
I'm sorry. What was that recommendation? That last.
Gyo Tokyo Fish Attack.
Gyo Tokyo Fish Attack.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm trying to look up images as we're doing this, and that one.
So this, for me, was the most strange and disturbing horror films I've seen in a long time. It's animated.
It looks pretty crazy.
It is insane. So this is the most kind and normal sounding synopsis, but it is not any, it's insane. So the synopsis goes on IMDb. The friends Kaori, Erika, and Aki are on a vacation to celebrate their upcoming graduation when suddenly an infestation of mysterious walking fish forces them to reevaluate everything they care about in order to stay alive. So the hubris in this is really, we don't know where these fish monsters are coming from. They're just coming out of the sea, and they have built on stilts. The creature designs, look them up because they are so deeply disturbing. It's like a fish or a shark, and they have these tubes stuck in their bodies, and they have sharp, almost insect-like legs, but it's a machine. And just millions and millions of fish are just climbing on land. They're super chaotic. If it's a shark, it's just eating people, just flowing through the streets.
What?
Tokyo is attacked.
Oh my God, I've got to watch this. I'm still looking at images
It's so crazy.
It's insane.
The machines evolve to new hosts as the movie progresses. So it starts with fish, and then you see some dogs hooked up to these things. And then maybe people start getting hooked up, and it's so disturbing to see tubes in people's mouths and butts, and they're just immobile with a giant tube coming out of both ends, and it's just the little stilts having them walk towards wherever they're headed towards. And it's kind of dealing with the petty problems of young women in this story. And it's also dealing with a big kind of just it's kind of like Pulse, Mons. If you got,
okay,
in the way that something is so bizarre and it is taking over.
Okay.
And it's not certain how on earth we're gonna get out of it. And I've just never seen anything so bizarre and creative, and leave it to Junji Ito to do it.
This is Junji Ito?
Oh yeah.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Tell me again where the hubris comes in. Is it the hubris of the
hubris of the whoever might have created such a horrifying machine?
Okay. Yeah.
What's this for?
Okay.
So you could do it? I don't know.
Yeah. Because we can. What's that?
The description is so creepy.
It's really weird.
Isn't there didn't Einstein have a quote about the atom bomb? Just because we could.
I think you're talking about Jurassic Park.
Maybe. That would be how my knowledge works. It was Einstein, right? No, it was Jurassic Park.
It was Malcolm that said.
A great man once said.
And that's it for me.
Oh, now I am become Death Destroyer Awards. That's what I'm thinking about, the atom bomb, not the just because we could.
That's the Trinity
I am meshing those two quotes together.
No, I think you're
that's
right.
how my
Einstein
brain
said
works.
something. Well, should I go? So Pride is Scanners, which came out on
You talking my jam?
I didn't know, but I thought you didn't like any of the Cronenbergs you guys watched. Do you like that one?
No, I love Cronenberg.
Paul doesn't like them.
Paul didn't like. Well,
Okay.
he didn't hate them. He just didn't love them.
It didn't do much for him.
Whereas
So
I love them.
It was released on Criterion this last couple years, and it was on for 5 minutes. It was on YouTube, and I watched it a couple times. And
this one's one of my favorites too.
It's from 1981, and in case anybody doesn't know, well, this is super short. A scientist sends a man with extraordinary psychic powers to hunt others like him. That's really thin. I should have got a better one. So a lot of people know this film, and a lot of people know it for a big, special effect bombshell mic drop. That's 15 minutes into it. But excuse me, my interest is elsewhere. The more I've watched it, the more I realize this is a film about. Well, it's two things. Let's say it's brothers. Cronenberg, I think, is obsessed. Well, brothers come up a lot, and definitely the love-hate between brothers, I guess, is a counterpoint to what we're saying about Raw, love-hate between sisters. Definitely Scanners is about a pair of brothers, and also Dead Ringers, of course, is brothers, and even Into Violence ends up being a confrontation between two brothers, and the confrontation at the end of Violence, another Cronenberg film, is very much a replay of the showdown that happens between the two brothers. And you could find it other places in Cronenberg's films. And the other thing in Cronenberg are corporations and these agencies that are very shadowy. And in Scanners, you've got two brothers who only one knows of the other's existence. And then you've got these two corporations, or two arms of the same corporation. One doesn't know what the other's doing. And the film starts with you get one scene about one brother and one scene about the other, one scene about it goes back and forth, and to sort of set you up as the two ends of this poles. And I was really struck by how violent this film is. First of all, well, this is one of Cronenberg's messier films because they got the financing literally a week before they had to start shooting or something like that. And the script wasn't finished. And of course, that's not Cronenberg's way, but he had no choice. So it does get a little sketchy and a little undone at the end, but I don't care because what it does do, it does so well. And I think that I was surprised at how violent it was. I think this is the biggest body count as far as Cronenberg's films go. And there's a father figure, and the essay inside the Criterion package, Monica, you'll love this, compared it to, what is it, the Norse Odin, and what is the father and the two sons who fight?
Thor and Loki, yeah.
Yeah, he talks about that. That's essentially the structure of Scanners, which is true to a certain extent, but there's a lot of other things going on.
Yeah.
And I'll try to be brief and say that the violence that's visited upon there's the good Scanners. Oh God, it's going to be impossible. I have too many things to say about it, except say one thing. Cronenberg, there's this new turn in Cronenberg studies, the Jewish turn, and people are starting to analyze the films in terms of his Jewishness, which is not something you see on the surface, but it's in there. I think in this film, the doctor, Patrick McGowan, the character that he plays, has a German accent. And he's the one that is the father of the two sons. And the story of Scanners, the story of Ephemeral, and it was something that was given to pregnant women to make birthing easier and to take, psychologically improve their experience. And then it ended up creating these people who are essentially, they have schizophrenia-like symptoms. this is exactly what happened with thalidomide.
Yeah, I was gonna say this actually happened. Lobster hands.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And flippers and lack of limbs. And what happened in Canada is that Canada, it took a few months. Canada kept using it like months after everybody else had stopped using it. So it was a big scandal in Canada that pregnant mothers were still taking thalidomide after everybody else had outlawed it. And it was there's still a big to-do about it. People are still getting payouts, and there's still lawsuits and stuff like that. So, thalidomide, and post-World War II, a lot of North American governments absorbed the Nazi scientists. They gave them new identities, they hid them, and they used the technology that they used. And that's how thalidomide happened. It came from Germany, and the character who plays the father and the founder of Ephemeral has a German accent, and he's in his late 50s, early 60s. The film's from 1983. You do the math. This is clearly something from that there's a Nazi or a kind of cruel
just
scientist
pointing a finger. Yeah.
Well, this idea of he treats his son so badly. He throws into an institution, the other one's homeless, and he knows he's homeless, but he won't, and he calls him a piece of trash. And there's all kinds of awfulness between the two brothers and the father that has something to do with how the corporations work with each other, and also like historical, this sort of leftover cruelty, or this kind of idea of all that matters is the project being Ephemeral or thalidomide. The people don't matter. The risk to human life doesn't matter, that the emotions are suppressed. And they come out at the end, and they come out in incredibly violent and gruesome ways when the two brothers' emotions, and when they have their battle at the end. So I'm mixing up a whole lot of stuff, but I hope that that some of that made sense. That there's a lot more going on in this movie than I realized, and it took a couple more careful watches, to really start to tease some of this stuff out. Now, I think a lot of this stuff happens whether Cronenberg's intending it or not, Like, I don't know if he had thalidomide in his head. I don't know if he had Nazi doctors in his head, or brothers that come up again and again. But these things tend to come up a lot in his work, and I find it very moving. And there's also a sexual vibe between the two brothers. Daryl Revick says, "I'm going to suck the brains out of your head." And last thing, when Daryl Revick is scanning, when you watch the scene with the two guys, don't look at the guy whose head's going to explode. Look at Daryl Revick. Do you ever see those videos they have those websites where you see people masturbating, but you just see them from the neck up? They have them for men and women.
I haven't seen this.
No.
Yeah, you just find them, people's expressions while they're doing it, both male and female. And you don't really, they could be doing any number of things depending on who it is. If you watch Daryl Revick when he's scanning, it looks like he's trying to
looks like an O face.
An O face?
An O face? Your O face?
That's what that is.
The O face is the face that you make when you're coming. It's your O face.
It's the lead up to it, and this is Michael Ironside's first performance, and this movie made his career. He's still working.
I love Michael Ironside.
Oh my god! I was like, this is the most sexually exciting performance I've seen in a long time. But you know me, Crystal. I like the perverted. Man, you don't know he's attractive.
Cronenberg knows how to do it, right?
Yeah.
He does. Anyway, that's a bunch of fragments of thoughts I have about Scanners. Please watch it again, everybody, if you haven't seen it recently, because there's a lot more going on than it seems.
I will. I do have that Criterion edition.
I love Scanners. Yeah, Scanners is one of my favorites. I also really like what is it? Dead
Ringers.
No, not Dead Ringers. Why am the one with Christopher Walken? Why am I totally? The whole time you were talking about Scanners, I was thinking about it, and its name just.
Yeah, Dead Zone.
Dead Zone, yes.
His
Oh, I
films,
love
yeah.
Dead Zone.
Yeah, it's a really lovely movie.
Yeah.
I think his films, Dead Zone is a heartbreaker. I think all of his films are really heartbreaking. People don't give them enough credit for
Yeah.
being emotional expressions and experiences.
Not to get like super political, but I didn't really get Dead Zone until most recent events, and I'm just like, oh man, we need that guy. But sorry, end it there.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. No, I was just saying my tangent, ending it there. But okay, so that was Pride. Pride, yes.
And didn't even explain. I mean, it's definitely the father's.
Oh yeah.
About his his development of these chemicals and medications, and the whole principle of he wants to create, mega people. He wants to create God.
And he shuns anything that's not perfect.
Right. It's just like it's the full, it's the Frankenstein effect. It's just in this case, his actual biological sons. Whereas in Frankenstein, it's like, what, a metaphorical son or something like that? But the pride of the scientist, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, God, yeah. Does any of that resonate with you, Monica? I don't know. Did you see any of this stuff, or do you feel like this is way too tangential to what's actually on the screen?
Wait, for what?
For Scanners, I don't know. I just guess.
I see a lot of the things you're talking about.
Okay. Just want to know I'm not crazy.
No, a lot of it. I mean, I
wouldn't have expressed it that way.
Yeah.
But now that you mention it, I'm like, oh well. Yeah, I mean that dude's face was weird.
Well, it's a very male film. It's got a lot of male erotic energy pulsing through it, I think.
It really does, yeah. I agree with that. I feel the same way with, and it's weird because, Videodrome has a lot of vaginal imagery. But it's still a very masculine film.
Well, yeah, it's vaginal imagery as seen through the male perspective.
But don't you think it changes him for good? I mean, I think Cronenberg's films change after that, too. They do get softer, or I think he works out his issues with masculine aggression through Videodrome. Although I guess they sort of, I think the films are much more ambisexual, or women take a better, stronger place in his films after Videodrome. I don't know.
We'd have to break that down.
What's that movie he did about Carl Jung?
Existence?
No, Carl Jung, Dangerous Method.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting sex role.
I guess
if you haven't seen it, you should.
God, I love Existence. I would love.
Yeah, Existence is so much fun.
You should talk about Existence sometime.
Yeah, that one's a lot of fun.
Or just body horror in general.
What a great.
Okay, so yes, my Pride. Again, I was saying you guys kept stealing my movies. Was It Comes at Night was my Pride film. And when you start talking about hubris as opposed to pride, I feel like it actually fits as hubris more. And I'm mostly talking about the end of the film is we have the right to do this because our family is number one. Our family is most important. And the father in the whole film, if he wasn't so proud in that he is doing what's right, they probably wouldn't have gotten in a lot of the sticky situations that they did.
Yeah.
I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen the film because I think it's an amazing film. Everyone should go watch it. But pride was definitely an issue in the thing. But that being said, not that the father was so proud that he didn't hear things, because I honestly think he was the most level head many of the times. I guess when the whole family was involved, he was the one that kept the levels down. But when it was just him, he was kind of crazy.
I mean, I really empathize with him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is doing what he thinks is best for his family. He loves them.
Mm-hmm.
I think both sides are doing what.
Yeah, both are doing what
they have to do.
Yeah, But
And that's
in the
really
end, they justify what they did because our family comes first, but it's like, you realize what you just did.
yeah.
Yep.
It's a slow burn.
And I really wanted to
not
talk about talk to Brady about this movie because I feel like this has a Brady happy ending. And I'm like, we should watch this. What do you think about this?
Right.
I want to hear what Brady thinks about all these movies.
I know. He should watch Lair of the White Worm, too.
I want to hear what Kenza thinks, too, about some of this. Particularly, I mean, It Comes at Night is very much an extended metaphor, right? It's like well, it reminded me of, Dawn of the Night of the Living Dead, of course, about how does a society form under duress, when families or people together don't know each other. Are you going to get it together? You're not. And yeah, I definitely agree that Joel Edgerton's character, his pride, or whatever vice, it definitely comes down to him, I think. I feel like I knew exactly when it started to deviate, but I guess everybody probably has a different point at the film where you feel like he's starting to go off the rails in his need to control.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I can't say exactly where it is, but God, everybody was so good in that.
Yeah.
What a great trailer, too.
Yeah, I love that trailer. For once, it didn't tell me too much.
Give away nothing.
Yeah.
It was just images, sounds.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
I'm like, I'm there.
Creepy.
Take me there.
It told me creepy paranoia. Done. I'm there. That's all I needed.
Yeah, it's great.
And also heartbreaking.
Yes.
Because you like everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, there isn't really a bad guy. I mean, they do kind of play up that, they're lying to each other, but it's survival. You're doing what you can for your family. So it's not like he's lying, oh, he's a bad guy. He's lying because he's protecting his family.
Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't you in the same position do the same?
And I think the dad acknowledges that. I think that's kind of why he doesn't really call him on it. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think he's just like, you're just a man protecting your family.
He's very hesitant to take action on it. But I think that it's a very American story, and it's very much of the time of what's mine, and it's this very American. The family is everything. My home is everything. Not in my backyard, kind of.
Yeah.
I'm gonna so fiercely protect me and mine that it'd fuck everything else, or that I don't care about how the society is working or not working. I mean, I think it's very much got.
Yeah, he blatantly doesn't care about anyone outside of his house.
Right. And even the people that come in, like, they're expendable if he feels they are. It's like, no, you can't do it that way.
If they didn't have goats, I'm pretty sure he would have never let them.
It's a real heartbreaking film. And a lot of people didn't like it, because I don't understand why.
It's probably another one of those slow, but I don't know. Suspense, not suspension. Suspense needs to be slow, I feel like. It should build. So, I don't know. It's the same with Cure for Wellness. It was kind of slow, but it's building that tension slowly so it burns and then explodes like a boiling pot.
Interesting to hear what you have to say about it. To hear such a different perspective. You didn't see it, Crystal?
I haven't yet, no.
You like Verbinski, though, right? Sometimes you do, or...
Sometimes I love Gore Verbinski. I mean, for a long time, The American Ring was one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
On another exploration, maybe it didn't survive, but I think it's still a great take on it. He's really good at making a narrative work.
Okay.
In that sense. So I guess that wraps up our...
Well, I was going to say, do you guys have any, like, honorable mentions or anything like that?
I mentioned everything.
Oh, I didn't. I have an honorable mention, and the only reason why I didn't put it in a category because I could not freaking figure out what sin it fell under, and then I decided it doesn't fall under any sins. Hold on, I'm trying to find an image because that's what I do. And it's another recommendation from you, Noel. The 2015 Evolution.
Oh yeah, me too. Of course, we love that movie.
Yeah, I adore that movie,
I can't
but
figure out what's in either.
I don't. Yeah, I was like, I don't think it has a sin. It is a boy just waking up and realizing something's wrong, and then getting out. Yeah.
The only thing I could come up with for Evolution 2015, everybody, because there's other evolutions, was envy. Like maybe the women envy the boys. That was all.
But I feel like, okay, so this is me probably pushing a lot of Lovecraft in this. I feel like the women were prepping the boys for like some sort of whoever in the sea they worshipped. Because they definitely had some sort of witch ritual with the sea. So I feel like the boys were being prepped, not necessarily that they were... I don't know, though. I mean, that's what I like about the movie, though. It's so vague. It lets you fill in your own gaps. But it still gives you... It's not, like, super vague. Like, there's a movie I constantly refer to when I talk about movies being too vague is The Darkness with Anna Paquin. It's an older movie. Like, I like vague movies and letting me fill in the gaps, but when you're so vague that I can't even guess, that's too vague. That's too much.
Yeah, when Monica can't even guess.
When I can't put anything together, you need to put a little bit more work in your movie.
Yeah, that movie it was just like pasted together. I don't know.
Why does anybody hate Mother? Does anybody know?
I think it's because people. I think it's because people like to proclaim issues with predictability when it comes to the Bible. I know about that.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
You know, that's how I feel about it. Yeah, because when I talk to people, they're like, "It's so obvious. There was this. There was that."
That's another issue I have is like just because it's following a parable doesn't make it predictable.
Oh
and
my God.
Even if you do guess the ending, did you not enjoy the journey? Like,
yeah, no, but people just want to have a stance on it because they were probably pretty offended by some of these images, and it didn't follow. It doesn't make you feel good when you're done. So I'm sure people just wanted to pick it apart.
I felt very it felt very much like a roller coaster for me, just a pure thrill ride.
Yeah.
No matter how serious I thought a lot of it was fun. I was laughing through the whole thing. I don't know how much was intended to be funny, but there had to be some humor in it. I mean,
yeah, when she starts throwing the underpants behind the washing machine.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of comedy.
So funny.
It was such a thrill ride.
Michelle Pfeiffer is an American treasure.
Ugh, yes.
Okay, I just want to say
such a bitch in that movie.
that was the only thing that really upset me was why did he have to make Eve it's such a Jewish, it's a very Jewish film. It's a very Old Testament film. I guess I didn't realize about Jesus did appear, but he's not even given the opportunity to develop into an actual figure. And it's very Old Testament in the sense, in my version, when she dies, he dies too. Or he dies when the house dies. Oh, see, this is all code talk. This doesn't make sense to anybody. Except to say that I disagreed with... I really wish he hadn't made Eve such a royal bitch. It's an ugly tradition of like...
Well, Adam was really annoying,
too. I think it's dealing with this accelerated progression of time, too, though. Because if they're slightly lovable, you don't feel the annoyance that...
We should table this.
Yeah.
I just really
let's
I don't know.
Yeah, let's wrap up this episode and then we'll do a whole other mother thing.
All right. Yeah, so that was our 7 deadly films for 2017 and honorable mentions.
Well, something like that.
I hope
Wait, what'd you say?
Is this going out live?
Yeah, it's live.
Oh boy. Okay. But it can also be You'll also be able to eventually hear it on iTunes.
Yes.
Yes.
I will probably put it up on YouTube tonight or tomorrow. Crystal
Yep.
will get the audio and go for iTunes, Stitcher, all those things that she does. Yes.
What Doesn't Kill Us on iTunes, and then also Stitcher, What Doesn't Kill Us everywhere.
What Doesn't Kill Us.
What Doesn't Kill
Stitcher,
Us.
YouTube. We have the Fight or Flight Network Facebook page. We are on Twitch as Fight or Flight Network. We are on YouTube as What Doesn't Kill Us. You know, check us out, watch us. Thanks for watching right now and joining us through our journey of the 7 deadly films. Yes, Noel?
Just our email is,
Tell us your fears
at gmail.com.
Yes. If you have any movie recommendations, your favorite horror films, we will listen. Any comments, commentary, tell us you like our blousers. Our blousers. Our
Blousers?
I said blouses and trousers at the same time. Blousers. Tell me how you feel about my blousers, and I'll try to figure out what that is.
I wish I could see your blousers, Monica.
My blousers. I'm actually wearing Pikachu blousers right now.
Oh.
I wish I could see you.
So yes, thanks for
All right.
watching. For you guys in chat, thanks for chatting along with me while we went through the films, and we will catch you guys next time. Toodles.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Putting up with us.